Hello, everyone, and welcome to this talk with myself, Stuart from 1948, and Ian Bone from Capricorn Gems. And we thank you very much for coming along to the Ethical Gem Fair here in virtual Tucson for 2021. Of course, we would much rather be seeing you all face to face, but in the current conditions, this is what we've decided to do. And the online show has been running pretty well, I would say, over the last few days. We've seen quite a few people from around the world, so there are certainly some benefits to doing this online, but it isn't the same as being there in sunny Tucson, certainly not in the UK today, where the temperatures are pretty low, I can tell you. So we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so just chatting about various aspects of the gem trade, of our businesses, a little bit about the history of our group. So maybe, Ian, you'd like to start with a little bit of an introduction about yourself and Capricorn Gems.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Stuart. Well, it's just turned 7 p.m. Saturday evening here, so we're just about ready to go for the evening, and then you guys are starting the day. So things in time zones have been a very interesting situation with this whole event as well. But anyway, yes, Stuart. Well, Capricorn Gems, a business particularly representing marketing, selling gemstones from Central Queensland. It's very simple, really. We only focus on 4 gems: sapphire, zircon, chrysoprase, and sapphire, zircon, chrysoprase, and boulder opal. And these 4 gems originate in this particular part of the world. They're no more than a 15-hour drive from where I live, so it's not that far really to actually get to the mines. That's the boulder opal mines. The others are closer. It's not that far really for us to actually source our product and work with our mining communities and obtain the materials. So yes, we then, Stuart, take the rough material, process it. Most of it's done by my business partner Rod Beatty. Rod's been in this business for 40 plus years, knows lots of people. He's sort of the back end of the business, I guess, in many ways, whereas I'm more so the front end. But Rod does a very important role in sourcing, creating the relationships or recreating relationships with the miners, and then in fact cutting. He's a master cutter himself and a gemologist also, and he then I guess organises the cutting processes. Rod's based in Thailand in normal times. He's based in Thailand 6 months of the year, back and forth to Australia. So he sort of has worked up in that area for 20 odd years and knows lots of people in the gemstone trade, and works with a number of cutting factories up there, a number of cutting workshops, and supervises that and ensures that all of the processes are in place to ensure responsible cutting processes and proper labour law, labour treatment of people and things like that. So Thailand's pretty good. I mean, look, they've been in the business for many years, and they know what they have to do. So essentially, then we get our material back, and then I market it. And of course, it's dramatically changed in the last 12 months, Stuart.
Certainly has.
I haven't gone anywhere. I've been here in Australia for 12 months. I think I was saying the other day, I think it's the longest period of time for maybe 20 years I've been in Australia at any one length of time, which is pretty amazing. I'm generally over your part of the world, or in the US or somewhere else. So yeah, this has been a real interesting thing. And just briefly, it's been good because it's been enabling us to do a number of things. One, to go back to the mines much easier, and for me to familiarise myself back into that space much more, in a much more detailed way. But from the marketing and sales point of view, it's enabled us to really shift our focus on the shows and the physical product to an online environment. And in this last 8 months, we've been very active establishing our website and getting basically everything online, becoming an online business, which you guys have moved down that pathway very much so as well. So this is the change that we've seen. So that's in a nutshell, mate. That's what we're up to.
Yeah,
it's
interesting.
You and I go back a couple of years now too. So
Yeah.
We've done a number of things over there, and in times improve, we'll be back over, of course.
I hope so, and I very much look forward to the time when I can do a field trip to Australia. That was very much on my list, my wish list, and now it's been delayed. But it's just listening to you talking there. It's an interesting contrast because you are there, obviously in your home base in the area, as you say, in Queensland, where the stones are mined. So you're right on the pulse, if you like, of the sourcing side, but actually very distant from the bulk of your customers, either in Europe or in the US. And I, on the other hand, I'm very close to most of my customers here in the UK, but I'm thousands of miles away from our sources. So at 1948, we're sourcing mainly from Sri Lanka. We're probably best known for our Sri Lankan sapphires and a range of other stones there, from there, and also from Tanzania. So neither of which have been accessible, of course, over the last year or so. My last field trip, in fact, was almost exactly a year ago to Sri Lanka, and when I got back to the UK in March, of course, the world changed, and like yourself, this is the longest period that I've probably been in the UK uninterrupted for years and years and years. So for you, the challenge has been, of course, reaching your customers, like you say, and we've looked to up our game, if you like, online, in order to access our customers. Whereas for me, the challenge has been slightly more on the side of maintaining those good contacts with my supply chain, with my miners out in the field. And I think I've been really fortunate in as much as over the last 10 years that we've been running 1948, we have established some really solid relationships with people in the producing countries, in our main source countries. And so I've got those trusted contacts, people that I can absolutely rely on to do their best to keep the operations running in both Sri Lanka and Tanzania. The main challenge, I think, that I've seen, you may have seen some of this as well, Ian, is that the import, the export, the shipping has been obviously disrupted because of the pandemic. So the logistics have been quite tricky. But I just thought that was an interesting kind of contrast position that we have. You're right there at the mines,
yes,
and with your business partner working on that side of things, and your challenge is reaching the customers. But you've done a great job with your website. I mean, you've
thanks,
really
mate.
developed that.
Appreciate that. Appreciate your feedback, and we are getting some good feedback from our clients and customers. And look, it's been a labour. There's no doubt about it. As you know, I mean, putting a website together is no mean feat.
Yeah.
It's not just the putting of the site together, though. That's the actual support process surrounding the site, and this is the interesting thing for us, and you'll probably find this too. And the site for us becomes really a shop front, because in most cases, at least in my experience, designers very rarely actually jump on the site and actually run through the process of determination right through to the cart, to the final purchase, without talking to me. And it's a rare occurrence where that happens. Of course, it happens. If people know exactly what they want, and it's not necessarily by virtue of the imagery being insufficient, but it's all about the relationship, and it's all about the contact back with me to be able to get more insight into a particular gem or more imagery. And this is the key thing, I believe. I mean, I think this is a very interesting concept, and I think some things we can take on board. We should treat this website as a platform for selling, but not necessarily a selling platform, if you know what I mean. It's a platform to show people what we have, and then to enable our clients to come back to us to ask for more images, for comparisons, for alternatives. And I think this is really important, because we have to think about, most of our clients are actually presenting these gems to their clients.
Hmm.
And they need a whole range of different imagery and stories and information on that gem to be able to post or send, I should say, or forward on those images and the like, videos and the like, to their clients, because of the way of the world now. And this is an important thing, I think, for us to continue to think about where we are as suppliers. It's not just a simple matter of laying the stuff out on the table anymore. It's all about an engagement process, and in fact, a very, very close engagement process with the designer. So that's an iterative process for me. Sometimes I'm back and forth a number of times. I use WhatsApp. I'm probably WhatsApp's biggest user. I don't know, but I reckon I'm pretty prolific with WhatsApp. So using it, what could we do before? Anyway, the point of the matter is that the technology is there to help us. The technology is there that we utilize and that we need to continue to utilize and to support designers in their businesses in getting their images and proper images out to their customers. And I'm finding that that's not a challenge, but it's an important mindset or concept thinking about the way we're doing our business now. So I just thought I'd put that in there because, yes, we're geared up. Yes, we've got a great website. Yes, we're getting good feedback, but we realise that we're also in this particular position of helping as much as we possibly can to get that imagery, particularly the imagery, but also the details of the gem. You know, is it, how clean is it? The inclusions, is it this, is it that? I mean, all of that sort of information. Because if you're not going to give that information, you know, you're going to have unmet expectations. I mean, you're going to have someone pick up the gem when it arrives in the mail and say, that's not what I expected.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's no good to me.
The colour, of course. Conveying the colour is a real challenge for a lot of stones. So getting that accurately captured on a video or on a photo.
It is a challenge, but you've got to work out what works for you. And,
Definitely.
you know, what works for you and probably slightly different to me because we have different light down here. I mean, it's a different situation. It's true. I mean, our photography is slightly different, where you guys, you maybe have to be a little more creative in the lighting arrangements and the time of day even you take the pictures. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to work.
Timing is everything with the photography. Definitely.
Indeed. So that's a big change, I think, Stuart, that we've seen in the last 12 months in the business. Yes, I've been at home, and as I say, yes, it's been very interesting. But again, over those last 4 or 5 years that I've been waltzing around the world, I mean, I've made some great contacts with people, and you know, established some really good relationships and trust relationships, and you know, people know the product, they know me, and of course that goes with you and me and Kathy, and what we've achieved is really. I was just reflecting a little bit before we started. I mean, back in 2017, we started this concept of this group. It began in the UK, you and me. I remember having conversations. I remember attending a couple of events, and one particular event in Edinburgh where designers got up the front and said, one of our biggest challenges is sourcing traceable, ethically mined gemstones. And I'm saying, heck, I mean, what's going on here? I mean, we've got to be able to do something to help this, to sort of meet this need. Even in our little part of the world, having a few gemstones, but we've got to try to find people that believe in this and can actually do this. So tell us, I mean, you know, tell us what your views are on this whole thing.
Yeah, that's you've made some really, I think, really important points there. That we have got the history behind us. You know, we have been doing this a few years. I think. Let's face it, when we got to the Tucson show in February last year, the physical show, I mean, that was really quite a high point of and a culmination of the work that we put in, as you say, starting in the UK and then branching out into the US, running the events, satisfying, as you were mentioning, this need that we saw from a lot of designer makers, that they wanted to have stones that they could rely on, that they knew that they were traceable, that they came from a transparent supply chain, and so we had, on the back of that, we had run our events. We had got our group together. We all got to Tucson. We were literally riding high, weren't we? We had however many 100 people came last year to see us in the venue in Tucson, and it was fantastic. And then all of a sudden, as you were saying, we've had to switch things around. We do have these existing relationships. We have established really loyal customers, I think, and excellent business partners now, and colleagues around the world, which has given us and does give us a very solid foundation on which to build. But we have had to be innovative. We have had to look at the technology. We have definitely these kind of methods of communication have become essential, not only with our existing clients, but also with new clients that are coming on board all the time. And I think, as you say, the combination of this kind of event where people can come, they can chat to us, they can understand the background to the stones, they can talk to us about the products that we have, and then complementing that with the website, as you said, with with the visuals, with the imagery, with all the product information that people need to look at as well. That of course they're able to do 24/7, 365 a year, whereas they can only come to our shows a few days every so often. So they've got all that information there, but they still need to engage with us as vendors. As people, they want to look you in the eye, even across Zoom or another channel.
Indeed.
And say, okay, I've spoken with Ian, I've listened to him talk about his gemstones, or Stuart, and I feel confident. I know what I'm getting into here. I know what I'm buying. I can rely on the vendor. I can rely on the supply chain. I can rely on the quality of the product. And so we've used this combination of apps and websites and video chats and all of this other technology, which is amazing. Can you think that 20 years ago, if we'd have had this situation, we'd have been writing letters to our customers? It just wouldn't have been possible. So I think we've benefited from these last few years where we've taken quite a progressive approach, I think, to what we've been doing. Our industry is not really well known for its transparency and its disclosure. Some people can be a little bit I hate to say secretive, but it really is a little bit reluctant, shall we say, to tell everything about how they do business. And I think we've certainly dispensed with that. And when people speak with us through whatever means, I hope they get that impression that we're just telling it as it is and giving people as much information as we possibly can, so that they can make a fully informed buying decision ultimately, and make sure that they're happy, and consequently that their customers are happy. So those are the important things, I think, that that we've managed to achieve in these few short years.
So this group we have put together, Stuart, it's probably worth us chatting a little bit about the group of people, because most of the UK clients of ours, customers there, probably don't know too much about the other people involved in this group. And I'm not going to necessarily go into the detail on each person, but you're in a business relationship with one of those people, with Monica, and of course Monica was going to come to the March show last year in London. Of course that fell apart. But we've got the likes of Monica from Anza Gems. We've got Brian from Nature's Geometry, and in fact we've got Hewan here as well now, that is from Ethiopia, linked in with us today, and will be on the table, which is a new entry into this time zone, I suppose, in some way. So we've got a range of people now that I think it's starting to become a fairly critical mass of people. Jay with his post recycled diamonds, and of course Kathy, of course, in the UK. But we've got a good group of, I think, 8 or 9, maybe 10 even now, of suppliers that we can really call a relatively tight group that shares similar views of the world in terms of in terms of this practice of traceable gems and ethically sourcing product and sustainable development and social development, of course, of communities back where these gems come from. So this is an interesting concept for us. And of course, what we think we're leading in this space. And I think we know we're leading in this space because there's really nobody else in this industry that's sort of come together under this type of an arrangement. And I think the other thing that we're leading with is just a simple fact that we're here today. We're actually having these conversations, whereas most other gem organisations and or individuals have basically thrown their hands up and said it's all too hard. I mean, the large bodies are just too complicated. I mean, the AGTAs of the world and the other gem organisations with memberships, it's too difficult for them to actually even contemplate doing something like this for their members. I mean, we're small, we're nimble, we're agile, we're able to sort of do things because we're a small collective group to be able to make decisions to do things in a relatively short period of time and to continue the processes of, I guess, pushing the edge of the envelope, so to speak, of all this new technology, but also our own concepts of bringing gemstones to the market. So this is an interesting concept for me. And I'm going to ask you a question here, Mo. Where do we go? Where do you see the market going? Where do you see the shows going in terms of, because we will be back in a physical sense at some stage. I mean, what's your view on when that happens? Where does this technology fall into that situation?
Well, it's a very good question, and I think we've all seen that over the last few years. The traditional trade shows have they've been a bit on the slide, I would say. The footfall is down, and exactly because of what we've been saying here, because of the technology that people can access vendors, they can look at gemstones and other materials and products anytime they want to. They don't need to fly halfway around the world necessarily. I mean, lots of people do, of course, still, but the accessibility and the openness that we have now through the technology means that our customers can they can talk to us all the time. So it's whilst nothing will substitute, of course, as we've said, for picking up the gemstones, having them in your hand, looking at them, feeling them. That is irreplaceable. You can't get that through the technology, but a lot of the other things that you can. And I think that what we're going to see probably is we're going to have more streamlined shows. We're going to have like the shows in the events that we put on. They're very specific. They're not these big sprawling general purpose shows where you go and probably 80% of it is not relevant to you. As you know, we put on shows, sometimes just 2 or 3 of us at the event, and we get a very focused audience. People are there because they know what we're about. They're coming to see fully traceable, responsibly sourced gemstones at our event. They're not coming to get some new packaging. They're not coming to buy some new tools for their studio or anything like that. They're coming to look at gemstones. So it's a very focused audience, and so we get a good attendance, and it's really important, of course, for the relationship building. But I think as we go forward, this technology now has really it's sped up the changes that we have been seeing for the bigger shows. And I think that people now have had a year of getting used to engaging in this way of using new technology, using applications and programs they'd never even heard of. Who'd heard of Zoom 12 months ago? Some people, sure, but not many, and a lot more now. And people are getting used to this. So I think you and I, maybe we can see times where we'll be running events with the Ethical Gem Suppliers group in different parts of the world, and there might be a few of us there physically, but there could be a whole load more of us there virtually. So we'll be having this kind of hybrid type of event where you could go in, who's to say, and the technology is there where you could have like a virtual reality headset. You come into our physical booth in Hong Kong, you put on the headset, and suddenly you're talking to one of our colleagues in New York, and it's just like you're sat in the room with him, or her. So it's there's a lot of potential here for using the technology going forward, and really maximizing the coverage of our group and the exposure of our group, because as you and I have seen, this is only going in one direction. This movement towards more responsibly sourced materials within our industry, and of course in the wider context too, is only going in this single direction, and people want more of it. So I think we've already seen, even at this show, where I've seen people just dropping in from all over the place, and people that I've never met before, and probably it's very likely I never will meet because of their locations. But this is giving them accessibility to us, to our gemstones, and also to, as you've said, to the principles that we all share as a team. So so I think times have changed. They're not changing. They have changed.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stuart. They have changed, and I think that we can pat ourselves on the back a little bit, I guess, by doing what we're doing. I mean, it does take time and effort, and count the number of meetings we've had over the last 4 or 5 weeks, mate. I mean, it's been a pretty continuous process, but it's resulted in this event, and we're still learning, and this is going to take some time, and we realise that we've got to tweak some things here and there. But I was interested to hear your ideas about this whole virtual business, and this the utilisation of the technology going forward to give people an experience as if they were there. I mean, how good's that? I mean, this is the way that things are going to go. So yes, I think we've sort of, I think, learned a lot in the last 12 months. Not just that things have changed, but also that there's room to move going further forward. Also, in terms of being open to the technology, being more amenable to the change that's there, rather than necessarily putting it to one side and shunning it, so to speak, which many in this industry do.
Yeah. Yes, I think we've really kind of led the field with some of the things that we've done, and the use of the technology, but also the approach that we've taken to certain things. So I'm optimistic that it's going to put us in good stead for the future.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, mate. Look, I'm just looking at time. I think we're probably nearly there. We can talk all night. I know that we can, because I'll just get on to another topic, and I'll just keep rambling on. And I know that you're up for it too, but we'll do that over a beer when I get back to the UK. That
would be good. But I think also, just on that point, that this event has a specific purpose. That we're trying to promote the gemstones and engage with our customers. But there's no reason, of course, as a group using the similar technology, as we have seen many examples of over recent months, that we would do more of this kind of thing as well. The kind of educational side, the just the informative kind of relationship building type side of things, can all be delivered over a similar channel. So unfortunately, that means that maybe people will be seeing you and me chatting to each other more frequently online, whether they like it or not.
Again, we can be a little bit creative too, and who knows what we can do in this space. I mean, there's all sorts of things we can do. I think we've been talking about this again. I'm just watching time, and that's okay. But I think we can also, we've had this conversation. We also see ourselves as somewhat facilitators of linkages between people, and we see ourselves as a facilitator of linkages and contacts and relationships between designers. We see ourselves as facilitating relationships between designers and other organisations, such as Jewellery Industry Summit, Fairlux, Ethical Metalsmiths. I mean, this is an important role that we believe that we can assist in playing to help people, particularly designer makers, understand more broadly about the industry they're in a global context. So that a designer in New Zealand or somewhere like that, might want to reach out to somewhere around the world, somewhere to get some information about a certain product, metal or something like that, or a technique. I think that's part of our role to open those gates a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as I say, you might be seeing more of us, but you might be seeing more of you and other people as well participate in this type of arrangement too.
Yeah.
Because it is very much, it is a partnership approach that we take with our customers, clients, with designer makers in helping them grow their business as best as they possibly can. And in doing so, you know, as I say, making contacts back in through the global environment to other organisations and other entities that they might be interested in finding out more about.
Yeah, it's building that community, isn't it, on a global level?
It is, absolutely.
And all of the like-minded people coming together, sharing the information and being greater than the sum of our parts, as they say. So, but I am conscious of time. I think we should probably wrap it up there. And of course, we should invite everyone now to join us in the lounge at our tables. So please come along. I'm certainly going to be here for a few hours because here in the UK, my day is just starting. As Ian said, his day is at the other end. So
I'll be here. I'll be here till stumps.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be around for a little while yet. So please come and chat with us at our tables in the lounge. But thank you very much for coming along and listening to this session as well. So we'll hopefully be speaking with more of you shortly. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Good too. Thanks.